Let me tell you about ProHealthConnect.com. It's transforming healthcare payments, providing retailers a seamless process for over-the-counter and healthy benefit programs. By connecting retailers, health plans, and payment processors, ProHealth Connect creates one powerful, unified network. They empower independent grocers and pharmacies to accept health benefit cards without changing how they do business. With over 10,000 locations nationwide, helping more than 1.3 million people access the care and nutrition they need. Go to ProHealthConnect.com.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Gregg Jarrett's calling in, and I believe he is the smartest legal mind on television today. Now, Greg, don't be offended. I'm going to tell Jonathan Turley the same exact thing tomorrow, but I happen to love you, just so you know that.
Well, Jonathan's outstanding, and he's written a couple of great books about the age of rage, and so he's always a good interview.
You're both great. You're both phenomenal. So I'm going to tell you why this show is so successful, and it everything else, it dwarfs everything, every show. It's because, Greg, I come from a sports background. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I don't act like I'm the smartest guy in the room. So when there are issues that need to be discussed, I bring on the people that are the smartest guy in the room. You're one of those, okay? You're one of those.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I think my listener is intrigued and interested in everything I talk about, but they're not necessarily up on all of it. And one of those discussions, I think, is this: birthright citizenship. They know my listeners, they love Trump. And if Trump wants it, they want it, right? So they know that President Trump was there yesterday at the Supreme Court arguing for this. But my contention is that they don't really know what it's all about, his executive order, what he's even trying to accomplish. So you can give me and my listeners the Monarch Note version of what this is all about before we get to yesterday. That would be very helpful, I think, for my audience.
Well, at issue was President Trump's executive order that he signed on the day of inauguration, and that order ended automatic citizenship to U.S.-born children of parents who are here illegally, unlawfully. They're here without permission. And it makes sense. It derives from the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution. But literally within hours, more than a dozen states filed a lawsuit to stop it. And it wound its way through the courts and eventually landed at the feet of the United States Supreme Court justices. Yesterday, they held their oral argument. And it was actually an historical first insofar as President Trump showed up and attended the first part of the hearing. And, you know, you heard a bunch of wackadoodles condemn him for showing up and trying to influence the justices. Nonsense. He was a named party. Any named party is entitled to be and encouraged to be present at the time of oral arguments before the United States.
Well, let me ask you this. I hear what you're saying, but let me ask you this. You know how much I love Trump. Couldn't it be both? Couldn't it be that he was a named party, so he had the right to be there, but maybe he thought if I stared a certain way at Amy Coney Barrett? You know, I don't know. I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know.
You know, if nothing else, it emphasized how very interested he is in the issue and in the outcome. And that's always important. You know, in any case, for, you know, the plaintiff or the defendant to show up and underscore that I'm here, this is important to me, and that communicates something to judges and indeed in trials in front of juries.
What's interesting to me is Sauer, I thought, was terrific yesterday. He was terrific. But what's interesting to me is the amount of people that have said the last 2 days that this is an exercise in nothing for Trump, that there's really no way, there's just no way in a million years, he's going to get what he wants. Does he know that? Do you know that? What's the truth here?
Yeah, he knows that. I mean, look, he knows it's an uphill battle. because of more than 150 years of habit and tradition, and what I think is misinterpretation. I agree with you that Sauer ably presented a very credible argument. He backed it up by historical facts, and those were that the authors of the 14th Amendment never intended to grant universal citizenship to children of parents who broke the law and came here fraudulently and illegally. But I will agree that judging by the pretty tough questions posed to Sauer from the bench, a majority of the justices appeared skeptical or wary
Agreed.
of dramatically altering the long-standing interpretation, however mistaken it has been, and it has been mistaken, as I wrote in my column.
Great column. I want you all to read it. Gregg Jarrett. Supreme Court may curb Trump's bid to end birthright citizenship. It's on Fox News right now. You want to be smarter? Read Gregg Jarrett stuff. What's the fear? What's President Trump's fear about these children born to illegals living in the United States?
Well, it got out of control, particularly during, President Biden's open borders policy for 4 years. The Pew Research issued a study in which they discovered that 9% of all babies born in the United States each year are from people who are here illegally.
Wow.
That amounts to 320,000 babies of illegal parents each and every year. And this subject came up during the oral arguments yesterday, that, the baby tourism. There are literally somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 Chinese businesses that load pregnant women on planes, send them to the United States. They have their children here, and, magically they're United States citizens, and they go back to China, but they are American citizens and can come here and vote whenever they want to, and, extend themselves the rights and privileges of American citizenship.
Gordon Chang told me once there was one family in Brooklyn, Greg, they had like 24 kids, this poor lady, like 24 kids, so they can do all those things that you're talking about. I do want to get to talking about illegals to this. I'm on this mission every day to try to get Mamdani removed from office. That's my job, okay? It's not going to work, probably just like President Trump trying to get birthright citizenship done. But that's my job. I've taken that on. I don't like him. I think he's a bad guy. It's not just about the Jewish people. It's everything, okay? It's Christians. It's taxes. It's affordability, which he claims he wants to help, but he's doing anything but. So we've got a story here in New York about an 83-year-old vet. I bring this up every day. This will be like the 8th or 9th consecutive show, Greg. 83-year-old veteran who survived cancer and World War II, who died because some illegal threw him on the subway track here in New York. And do you know that the mayor, forget about the fact that Sheridan Gorman is from Westchester, right? The 18-year-old girl who was murdered in Chicago. I know that, Westchester is not New York City, but it's certainly close enough for the mayor to make a statement. But this guy was murdered on the tracks in Mamdani's city. Do you know that this creep, this mayor, is yet to say a word about that? He defends Nurdin. He defends Mahmoud Khalil. He's out there talking about WNBA contracts. Not a word about a dead American vet on the subway tracks by an illegal in New York City.
Well, look, the fact is that people like Mamdani don't care about the innocent victims of crime, particularly when it happens at the hands of people here illegally. That's, but it's so typical of sanctuary cities. I mean, how many times does this have to happen before these sanctuary jurisdictions and people like Mamdani wake up and realize that they're actively aiding and abetting violent crimes and murders and obstructing law enforcement? They typically refuse to honor ICE detainers. They let criminals go free. Innocent citizens are victimized. But, as I say, people like Mamdani care more about protecting alien criminals than safeguarding law-abiding citizens. And, I've long argued that sanctuary officials who do this can and should be prosecuted because it's a crime to shield people who are here illegally. It's also a further crime to impede federal law enforcement. That's what they do. This senseless violence should be and can be prevented, but blue cities and states don't seem to care, and Mondami's sort of the poster child for that. I read recently where he's gotten rid of a couple of hundred police officers in favor of mental health care workers. How does that make sense to anyone?
Let Century Management Solutions get you to your next medical appointment. They specialize in non-emergency medical transportation, connecting patients to care, safety, reliability, and on time. Their advanced technology platform seamlessly coordinates patients, healthcare providers, insurers, and transportation partners all in one powerful network. With over 200 trusted transportation providers, they deliver scalable solutions backed by real-time tracking and complete transparency. Go to SENTRYMS.com.